Hello and welcome back to the third round of the oNiD Simhound British oNiD4 series. We're here at Snetterton running the 200 circuit, sort of the outer loop of Snetterton for what could be some slipstreaming madness is what we're expecting. Slight chance of rain tonight, though it is only a 4% chance, so very unlikely we will see it. And joining me, unlike usual, it's not Aiden, it is going to be from racing in the series, Mr. Ben Brown. How are you doing, Ben?
Good evening. Yes, I'm kind of sad I'm not racing. But Aiden's decided he needs a break for a week. So, yes, you've got me instead. No,
well,
I'll be less shouty. I'll be less shouty than Aiden.
Yeah, Aiden has taken a little trip to an expo this weekend, and he's left a little bit early. So Ben is kindly stepping out of the car to keep us running this week. And we're already about a third of the way through qualifying. We can see the first times on the board already. Oliver Stone currently at top of the timesheets with a 108.5. Got Matt Cleaver here coming up to the line. Let's see if it's an improvement for them. Time comes in, no time coming in, invalidating that lap and testing something a little special this weekend, thanks to Ben. We've got Matt Cleaver's face cam for us to see his reaction. See him hustling the car through the Wilson hairpin onto the Bentley straight now, having a little check down at his phone. Not sure that's... Oh, yeah, nearly onto the grass there. Maybe not the best advice to do. If you need a reminder of why not to do this, go watch one of the Monday streams at Fuji on the Mon Ultimate where someone crashed. It was Alfie Bevan crashed looking at his phone. But Mike Cleaver using the long Bentley straight to get away with it. Coming through the long right-hander of Coram Knight, coming up onto a bit of traffic, sliding the car through the final corner, running out quite wide. That could be another invalidation for him, but he comes up to the line. We'll see if a time does come through or not. Across the line. And no time once again, so another invalid lap. Matt's going to be hoping the traffic doesn't hold him up in front as he tries to set another lap. As mentioned, Silverstone still on tops, coming into Coram themselves. A little bit of traffic in front of them, which could actually be beneficial around here. Mentioned the long straights. We've seen Matt Cleaver checking their phone. They're that long. Okay, slipstream could be quite important to getting pole position here. Let's see, Silverstone, have they improved on this lap? No, backed off that lap 10.7 as the Lincoln Munro getting themselves up to P5, very close at the moment. Less than a tenth between most of the cars up and down the grid. As see Aidan Carter currently in second, 35 thousandths off the top. Can they bring that down? No, not that lap. Not far off, but we'll go for another lap. Kicking up a bit of dirt coming into Rich's the first corner, and going on for another lap again through difficult circuit. Bit of a lock up into the hairpin of Wilson as the car behind going wide. But it's worth mentioning, as we're on board with Aidan Carter, championship leader within the pro class coming into this round, 21 points ahead of nearest driver rival Oliver Stone, with Jack Dan in third with 3 points behind Oliver Stone, or 24 behind Aidan in the lead. Jack Dan, we won't be seeing them in this qualifying session. They're observing a qualifying ban, for instance, from the previous round. So they're going to have a tough job getting themselves up the grid into the reverse grid portion, hopefully for them. Remember, top 15 is reversed for the second race. And yeah, Jack Dan's got a difficult way. I love passing in front of them, but plenty of opportunities to pass round here. Aidan Carter invalidating another lap, so we'll look down to Lewis Mason fighting their way through Wilson Corner onto Bentley Straight. Long straight. Currently just sitting at the bottom of the top 10, but is our highest running AM driver at the moment. Though in the championship, it's, Mason is down in 15th, so hasn't been a great start. They missed last week and actually forgot to sign out, so took some penalty points for good measure. That has them down at bottom of the standings, so they'll need some good results to try and counteract that, and it might start here. iRacing at top of the AMS sheets, but still a little over 5 minutes left in qualifying. Can they bump themselves further into the overall top 10 though? They improve their time. They'll still be P10 overall for the moment. As we bump up to Reese Tarn, currently sitting 7th overall. Have a little look. Again, another driver that's down in the standings, having missed last week, only in 16th within the pro standings. Come across the line, only need 5 thousandths to gain a position. Let's see, not an improvement in the end for Taran. Who else have we got on that? We've got a couple of drivers, Aidan and Krosdek, heading back to pit lane for some new tyres. Matt High here coming into Murray's corner, sliding out wide. That could be an invalidation. Could compromise their momentum too, starting the next lap by a 10.5 off provisional pole. Up to the line. No improvement this time yet. It did invalidate it. Speaking of improving, though, Oliver Stone improving at top of the standings as Mahai running wide through T1. Probably invalidating that lap as well. But yeah, Oliver Stone, 1 minute 8.368 is the new benchmark, nearly a quarter of a second in front of Aidan. Really sort of stretching their feet as, yeah, certainly good potential to take a win here. So far this season, they have had a win in the second race at our first round at Donington, but was a bit disappointing last week. Got involved in a couple of incidents, so they'll be looking to get back to form this week. Restarting across the line again. Another invalidated lap. So we'll again have to go as the ticking towards the end now. Richard Ashford down in 21st. A little bit wide, a little bit of lock up into Murray's corner, but keeps it on track. Not using too much of the curb, it's just the run to the line now for Ashford. Currently sitting P8 within the standings. Can they improve? No, no improvement this time. You see quite a bit of dirt being kicked up, flying across onto the track from the car in front of them, and getting a little bit of slide as they use the exit curb. Mike Pfeiffer's next cross line is currently 16th. Can they improve themselves up the order? Another invalid laps by the look of it. Quite a few invalid laps coming through. That's something the drivers will have to watch out for, that they don't overextend those track limits too much in the race, pick themselves up a drive-through penalty. Runar Botolfsson popping up to P12, but we go back to Aidan Carter coming through the final couple of corners once again. Still staying comfy on the front row. I'm sure they'd love to take their first pole position. So far, Jack Dan has taken both pole positions. So with their qualifying ban, we're guaranteed to have a new pole sitter this time. Will it be Oliver Stone or will it be Aidan Carter across the line? Again, another invalid lap. 2 minutes left of the session. A couple more laps for everyone. Matt High and Oliver Stone getting laps in, but not improving, as Alexander Ordegren jumps themselves up into the top 5, 13 thousandths in front of Munro. They'll go to Luis Krozek, sitting P4. Can they get themselves into the top 3? Wait for the time. And again, another invalid lap. Mike Pfeiffer's sitting P11, improving their time, but still sitting in P11, or bumping themselves up to P11, I think. Lewis Mason by 5 thousandths. Restart now across the line. Can they get a valid lap in this time? And again, another invalid lap. So I swear drivers are saying more invalid laps than valid. Tell you who did say a valid lap. Philip Staples bumping themselves up to 15th with a 109.381. Alexander Ordegren, last lap, they bumped themselves up to P5. Can they carry the momentum on, find a bit more time, and get themselves onto the front 2 rows? Up to the line here. And as they cross, lap time is valid, but it's not quicker. Someone, again, who has gone even quicker, Oliver Stone, 1 minute 8.199 at the front. They return to pits. They feel like they've got pole position comfortably by 4/10 to Aidan Carter, who also returns to the pits at this moment. I think that's pole position secured for Mr. Stone. Dan Tomlinson currently saying P9 would like to bump themselves a little further up the order. Across the line, they'll have time for one more valid lap. One more lap, which they will need. So that previous lap invalid as well. So many invalid times. And valid lap finally from Restart, this time bumping themselves into the top 5. And of course, the session ends on the 15-second mark. So
I forgot as well.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, one more lap. Everyone's going to get plenty of time. Nope, that is it. Session is done. We have our grid order set. Oliver Stone taking a dominant pole position for the season so far. 4/10 ahead of Aidan Carter, alongside them on the front row. Matt High will roll off P3, ahead of Krozek in P4. Restart in P5, Ordegren P6. They got Munro in P7, have Matt Cleaver P8. Dan Tomlinson 9th, with Peter Stather in P10. First of our AM drivers, Mike Pfeiffer's will roll off row 6 in P11, ahead of Lewis Mason in 12th. Botolfsson will sell for 13th, has Sean McArdle in 14th. Philip Staples 15th, ahead of Ben Holmes in 16th. Tim Perrin 17th, ahead of Ash Hill in 18th. Fertoy takes 19th, and Morgan rounds out our top 20. Grant Lloyd will roll off 21st, have Ashford in 22nd. Adrian Rich in 23rd, have Terry Williams in 24th. And then at the back of our grid, we have Mac Barnes in 25th, with Jack Dan and Collins both receiving a qualifying ban. We'll have to start from 26th and 27th respectively. That is our 27 car grid, and we're about to go racing for our 35-minute feature race. A lot of slipstreaming opportunities, so despite the gap in qualifying, it might not be an easy win for Oliver Stone out front.
I was just amazed. I know I've been very quiet there, but I was just amazed how far in front Oliver Stone was. I mean, I don't know if he got a hell of a toe somewhere, but that was an amazing lap from him. So congratulations to him for the first pole of the season. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Jack Dan does from the back. Of course, Scotty, lead us away.
He'll have to keep it clean. The lights come on, and we're away for a start. A terrible start from Krozek on the second row, but looks like everyone has managed to avoid into Riches now. Quick right-hander, Matt High looking to the inside of Aidan Carter, has to leave the space, and this is allowing Oliver Stone to already break out a bit of a gap into the hairpin, send to the inside, and contact but with Rhys Tarrant. Think that was Ortegrin trying to get up the inside, and disaster for Rhys Tarrant, who drops to the back of the field. Aidan Carter trying to catch up to Oliver Stone, trying to remain within the slipstream there as they come towards Brundle corner, swing into the left-hander, 3 wide in the background, 4 wide even, this Mason, Dan Tomlinson, Peter Stather and Mike Pfeiffer's all running into the sequence together, and is going to be this Mason that comes out top of that battle, but not if Peter Stather has anything to say, looking to the inside of Coram, but doesn't quite get alongside, has to back out of that one already. Dan Tomlinson looking to the inside, massive lockup. I think there was a bit of contact there, but well held by Peter Stather. Carries on in P9, and Philip Staples getting in front of Batolfson behind. Ash Hill into the pit lane already to probably repair some contact from, repair some damage from the opening lap. Remember, all the drivers do have a fast repair, so it shouldn't be too long. Nonetheless, he's taking a drive-through penalty for a jump start. We had a couple of them last week.
It does look like, yeah, looks like a drive-through. So must have been a bit eager on the start there. I don't think he stopped for a pit stop there in that time.
Yes,
it has just updated as a 3-second stop actually. So he'd have used a fast repair and just straight back out again. So bit of work for Ash.
Yeah, 15 seconds off the back of the pack, but with some of the fighting we may see if they try 4 wide again into Brundle. Yeah, could very well catch up. We see 2 by 2 here coming out of Nelson corner through bomb hole side by side, ends off wide for the RB liveried car as well. Someone else falling for Toy and Lloyd running wide there, dropping positions. Mac Barney's, Jack Dan, Charlie Morgan taking advantage of that. Meanwhile, at the front, Oliver Stone still leads away, has not managed to break out a gap. Aidan Carter is coming with him, setting a fastest lap of the race with the slipstream. Matt High, Alexander Ortegrin dropping back a little bit as Lewis Mason drops a couple of places, falls to P10. Question is, will Aidan Carter settle in the slipstream, or will they try and lead some laps for themselves? Approaching Brundle now. Aidan looks to the inside a little bit, but not close enough for a move this time around. As we're going to get a replay here. This is lap 1 instant. Rhys Tarrant just on the outside. The car came in quite late. Rhys Tarrant probably just didn't see them in time. Was turning down to the apex before they realised there was a car alongside them. Unfortunate instant for both of those drivers. But continue with this lead battle. Aidan Carter not letting go of Oliver Stone as they come down the centre straight to start lap 4 now. Can Aidan Carter, still about a 10th quicker than Oliver Stone, but was an invalid lap, as Alexander Ortegrin now sets the fastest lap as they try and get themselves towards the podium. Dan Tomlinson trying to defend from Peter Stather. He goes up the inside of Riches. Dan holds around the outside though. It's going to be side by side into the braking zone for Wilson. How aggressive are the drivers going to be? Dan Tomlinson just too long of a way around the outside. Has to slot back into line. Might come under pressure from Lewis Mason behind. Plenty of fighting going on behind, involving Jack Dan, already up to 13th place. this race. I'm starting from 26th, halfway through the field. Halfway to go if they want to try and win this race. Still plenty of a distance to go, so who knows, anything can happen. Dan Tomlinson a little bit wide into Nelson corner there. Allows Mason to get up the inside, but again, Dan Tomlinson's got hold it round the outside of Bombhole. Will be the outside of Coram again, and it looks like Dan Tomlinson will be able to hold on to that. Let's see a replay here of Pfeiffer's coming into it. That's a car spun on the exit of Nelson. Very unfortunate. Pfeiffer's manages to go round the outside and avoid it, but there's a car straight into the side of them, losing the front end crash structure. I'm sure we'll see that car into the pit lane to repair that damage. Ben Holmes, Charlie Morgan, Sean McArdle, 3 cars, and Tempera as well. 4 cars into pit lane to repair damage from that unfortunate incident. Right, we go on board with Matt Cleaver now, who's trying to chase down Luca Munro. Let's just catch up with Matt Cleaver, see how focused is he, how much concentration is going in as he's into Bombhole now. Unfortunately, he finds himself sort of back of this 3-car train being led by Alexander Ordegren at the moment, so Munro picking up the slipstream, gonna make it difficult for Cleaver to make a move. Ordegren running out wide there, could compromise their exit, could be a track limit point that they'll have to be careful of through this 35-minute race. Very close up front as Aidan Carter's actually taken the lead of the race. We've missed that. Oliver Stone falling to second. That's allowed Matt Hyde to catch up. Luca Munro setting a personal best as they close in on Ordegren. Matt Cleaver closing in an awful lot. Lock up and deep for Ordegren. Munro trying to get themselves alongside. Compromises allows Matt Cleaver to get alongside, but the space there, they have to back out of it in the end. But Munro still has the momentum, has a run, and is looking to the outside of Brundle corner. We'll watch on board from Matt Cleaver, side by side into left-hander, and Munro backs out of it. That's Ordegren take the lead once again, probably thinking that with the slipstreaming opportunities around here, he will get him back at another point when it is not quite as risky, let's just say. But into the final corner, of course, very important corner, one of the 2 most important corners of the track, very wide onto the grass for Munro, but they've still managed to carry a lot of momentum. Wolf taken an off track with that. Defensive from Ordegren covering the inside, but we've seen the outside line has worked quite well through here so far. Will Munro try and hang it there? They tried to, but they can't hold it far enough alongside. Defensive again from Ordegren into the hairpin. Matt Cleaver trying to see if they can find a way through. They're going to start coming under pressure. Munro has held it around the outside this time, but can carry the momentum on the inside through the left-hander. This is how Aidan Carter took the lead, heading towards turn 1. Just had the momentum from the slipstream, good exit from final corner, and was ahead before they turned into riches at T1. Oliver Stone still following in second for now, but as we were watching that replay, Munro has got the move done. Big twitch on the exit of Nelson onto the grass, but somehow holds on to P4. Have Ordegren maybe just taking a safe, making sure not to get up, caught up in a slide and possible spin for Munro, but they held on to it. 4.6 seconds now back from the lead group. Ordegren coming under pressure from Matt Cleaver as well, but not quite able to get the move done. 4-car slipstream train now as they head down the Senna strip. Most under pressure is Ordegren. Matt Cleaver looks to the inside. Will they send it? Will they commit? They do indeed. Krosek trying to follow through, just about slots the gap and gets themselves in front for Wilson corner, but Ordegren's going to try and come back around the outside, turns to the inside for left-hander. They just have their front wing alongside wing to wheel contact. Luckily, they both get away with it, pointing in the right direction, but it's certainly hurt both of them. They're still side by side, but look at the gap that's opened up to Matt Cleaver in front. Matt closing in, but not quite close enough for a move. Ordegren to the inside, but it becomes the outside for Nelson. They're trying to hang it the long way round. Maybe a little bit of contact mid-corner there between the 2 of them, but no position swap for now. Aidan Carter still leading the way as they look to make it 3 wins in a row. They didn't necessarily win on track last week, but post-race penalties elevated them to a double victory. We'll look back at Sean McArdle here running out quite wide through T1 and then sending it down the inside of the RB car, and will get the move done nice and cleanly and continue their recovery. Of course, one of the 5 drivers I think we've had into pit lane to repair damage, and Ortegren trying to get the move done back on Krozek, but we'll swap to Adrian Rich here and Reese Tyron fighting. Rich trying to go round the outside, but not far enough alongside. Tyron will take 16th place as they head into Wilson. Still Einstein, maybe trying to set up a slipstream move here, but we have an issue actually for Matt Cleaver up front. They've dropped back off of Monroe, 3-second gap showing 9. They've lost a couple of places to Krozek. We'll get a replay here through Brundle into Nelson, just outbraked themselves, couldn't get the car slowed down, took a nice venturing trip lawn mowing the fields of Snetterton, but must have had another slide after that, as we've seen Krozek and Ortegren still behind Cleaver at that point, but Cleaver still dropping down positions, still has the issues and has come into pit lane. So I feel like there's a second part to that moment that we didn't quite see. Maybe coming into contact with another car. You can see Matt Cleaver stopping on their marks, the lights on their wheel flashing, very fancy, showing off. And they're straight on their way using that quick repair. And they'll try and fight back into the top 15. Remember, 15th place will be starting on pole position for our next race. Mike Barnes and Dan Tomlinson both seem to have had a couple of issues recently, both losing positions. So this is the second part of Matt Cleaver's moment. You can see just loses the rear end, locks sort of a rear tyre, and lucky to not be collected. Though the car seems like it was crabbing a little bit there. I wonder if there was an instant at bomb hole between them and either Ortegren or Krozek. That is my guess, because didn't seem any other way for him to have damage. Here's what happened to Mac Barnes coming to Wilson. Runs in deep, blocks the rears as well, and goes for a little spin. Pirouettes around. Yeah.
We like the rejoin.
Yeah, very fancy rejoin. But meanwhile, up front, Oliver Stone has retaken the lead of Aidan Carter as the slipstream games, shall we call them, continue on. Matt High still in the background is, we've got rejoining RB coming. That's Adrian Rich, I believe, if I'm judging that correctly. Oh no, I don't think that is. I think Adrian Rich is having a separate moment across the field. But into the left-hander, Matt High probably enjoying the fight that's going on in front of them, but just a little too far back to make any moves of their own. Aidan Carter closing in once again as they head to turn 1. Is it going to be close enough for a move? They commit to a move, they get themselves alongside, but Oliver Stone's going to try and hold it round the outside here, which they do indeed, but they don't have the momentum, and Aidan Carter back into the lead, but Oliver Stone can lace up a good exit out of Wilson. Looks like an alright exit. They're starting to close in with the slipstream again. Still plenty of a way to go in this race, just under 22 minutes, remember. And Oliver Stone doesn't look to... seems quite patient at the moment. It's nice and settled, closes in the braking zone, but doesn't want to go for retake the lead just yet. These two happy to swap the positions, but look how closely Oliver Stone is following through this final sector, through the long right-hander. Very close indeed. Good exit here, and Oliver Stone will certainly have the opportunity to retake the lead if they want to. Getting a bit of slipstream, maybe a little too close for their liking, having to pull out the slipstream earlier than they wanted to, not sort of pick up enough momentum, but they'll try and get the move back round the outside. not committing though, falls back into line, actually goes for a cutback, but Aiden Carter covers it off. And Matt High's actually going to try and take advantage of this. Round the outside of Wilson, side by side, as there's a car. That's Richard Ashford parked up and toes back to pit lane. They've had a bit of a disaster through Wilson, but it's now side by side for second place. Matt High's finally got themselves involved, but backside of the move, heading into Brundle. And that has given Aiden Carter a little bit of a gap, but sort of seeing the pace that Ulverstone has, can't imagine it won't be too long before their front wing is right in amongst the diffuser of Aiden Carter. We'll switch back now to Charlie Morgan, who's trying to defend from Tempera. Both these cars, remember, came in for a quick repair. So they're a little further down the field than they'd want to be. Morgan going defensive into Riches. Can Tempera find an opportunity of this? Again, Morgan slightly defensive, but ultimately holds the racing line into Wilson. Little bit wide for Morgan. That can maybe give Tempera an opportunity here, as we see Mac Barnes dropping down the order once more, having more issues it seems. Maybe making another mistake. Defensive from Charlie Morgan. To the left-hand side, to the inside for the left-hander, but is the outside committing though? Is Tempera. They've got the inside for Nelson. They hold the inside line, leaving room for Morgan, as Sean McArdle has had an issue and is dropping down the field as well. But in this battle, Charlie Morgan holds on for now, as Mike Pfeiffer's as dropping down the order as well, having issues too of their own. So quite a few drivers struggling, making mistakes, despite the fact we didn't see too many mistakes in qualifying. First two rounds, we've seen a lot of drivers struggling with the balance of the car, losing the rear end and going for a few spins. Haven't seen too many of those so far this race. Can see there on the graphics which drivers have been through pit lane and which of those have kept it clean and have stayed out. Ash Hill, the front one of those, and Adrian Rich now being passed by Matt Cleaver, another one that has had to come through pit lane. But meanwhile, at the front, Aiden Carter is having to defend the lead, not just from Ulverstone. Matt High has followed and is looking to try and maybe take a position here, almost bump drafting from that angle. It looked like they were bump drafting, but side by side through Brundle into Nelson, and Ulverstone has retaken the lead. Matt High not able to follow through and allows Aiden Carter to settle for second. Through Coram now, Inkar taking a tighter line, trying to get some clean air onto that front wing as they enter the long penultimate corner into the final corner now. Again, good exit needed. It looks like a decent exit for Aiden Carter. A little further back than they have been previously, but will be picking up the slipstream. Looks like they might be a little too far back. It'll be a late move into T1 if they go for it. Ultimately, not close enough. Very short braking zone into T1 here. So very difficult to make a move unless you are already alongside before the braking zone. You can see slightly wider line from Ulverstone. Inkar trying to open up the left-hander a little bit more, and certainly a bit closer this time by as they head down the Bentley Straight. Ulverstone sticking to the right-hand side. Inkar's going to pull alongside, and once again they'll be side by side. And Ulverstone looks like to just back off there. Let Aiden Carter have it this time, knowing that they can take the lead again whenever they want to with the slipstream. But will Matt High get involved? That is the question. Speaking of Matt, we got dropped back to Matt Cleaver again on that recovery drive. Is on the back of Ash Hill, who also, remember, both these drivers in for a quick repair already this race. And they're sitting just outside of the reverse grid, 3.9 seconds up to Ashley Collins in front. And which both of them would like to get into, as I'll put them on pole position for the next race. To the left-hand side for Matt Cleaver. And it looks like move done. Ash Hill not fighting it too hard. All over the curb on the exit for Matt Cleaver. But it's move done for P16. And they can focus on trying to get to that reverse grid position. Replay here of Philip Staples into the final corner. Just loses rear end of the car. Looks like it bottoms out on the curb. causing the rear end to lose more grip and the car going for a very quick spin. Luckily, the cars behind able to take avoiding action. And we have Fortoy coming into the pit lane for a second time this race, having had struggles. Dan Tomlinson here defending P11 from Reese Taryn. So he is just sitting outside the top 10 race time, though not quite close enough at the moment. And is closing in with the slipstream, but not going to be close enough for a move this time around. They'll look at chat. Welcome, Tafel Plant and Realfire PK, who's asking, does the F4 come free with iRacing? I don't think it does, Ben.
No,
not.
it doesn't, no. But it does have extremely close support. So, and a lot of the F4 series that are on the official series have free tracks and stuff. So, yeah, not a free track car, unfortunately, but extremely good.
And if you want to know, it's getting a new tire model in Season 3 of iRacing, which comes mid our Season 3 here at oNiD. So, yeah, these drivers are going to get a surprise tire model change mid-season, which could spice things up in the latter half. I believe that comes at Silverstone, we think. Change for the lead there. Silverstone back into lead as we see Mac Barnes coming into Wilson. Is it going to be locked for the rear? Oh no, gets into Fortoy, who looks like they were having a bit of an altercation with another driver in front. And yeah, a bit of front wing damage there for Barnes. Probably a bit of suspension damage for Fortoy, unfortunately. But yeah, a big difficult race for both of them. A couple more people into the pits, Barnes being one of them, and Terry Williams into the pits as well. Silverstone now in the lead once more, trying to break away from that slipstream, trying to do what hasn't been done so far this race. But I can tell you for almost certainty that Aidan Carter is not going to let that happen. What about our other championship contender, Jack Dan? They're going for a little adventure wide at T1, but they're up to P7 ahead of Peter Stather now. And next up is Alexander Ordegren in front. Three-car train there being led by Monroe in P4. So P4 is definitely on the cards here for Jack Dan, but they'll need to get a move on. 6.7 seconds is the gap that they have to close in before they can start making those moves. Peter Stather closing in with the slipstream is probably going to be quite happy with Jack Dan in front of them, using the slipstream to close up and help extend their pace. Charlie Morgan is back into the pits for a second time, as Reese Taryn did get the move done on Dan Tomlinson for a moment, but has fallen back behind them and Mike, but Mike has had a moment themselves and has dropped back behind Taryn, as well as Philip Staples. We can see here Pfeiffer's running a little, seems like they'd run wide through Bomb Hole. Maybe had ran wide through Nelson and was trying to recover back through Bomb Hole, but obviously had to run wide again onto the grass to not impede those as they were trying to rejoin safely. Though, good news for them, they are right within slipstream of Philip Staples, and so it will be possible for them to get a move done. Krojek has got a move done on Monroe for P4 for now, and will now be leading that three-car train for P4. But we swap back to the lead for Toy. They're getting out of the way with a little bit of an adventure across the grass of the leading battle. Matai starting to drop back now. Second gap opening up between him and the two leaders. But Ian Carter right there thinks by moving to T1, but ultimately isn't close enough. And we'll have to try another time. Mahai will be hoping that Aidan Carter makes a move soon, so that can slow those two leaders down and allow Mahai to close up once again. Aidan Carter, fastest lap of the race, set a couple of laps ago as they tried to chase down the leader Silverstone once again in the slipstream. Will pull out to the left-hand side here before Brundle, and again, Silverstone just slots back into line. It's a bit like an oval race here. You've got to be in the right place at the right time, pick up the slipstream toe and make a move. Silverstone knows that. They're not fighting too hard at this stage. They're making sure to keep it safe, keep it clean. continue to open the gap up to Matt Ty, which they've struggled to do so far this race. But they are starting to do so now. Replay here of Grant Lloyd looking to the, or trying to defend, maybe getting a little distracted, runs out wide, has a little spin onto the grass as they were defending from, I believe that was Ben Holmes, following them. Yes, it was indeed for 19th and 20th. We come back to this battle for P4. Look to the inside for Ordegren on Munro. Munro tries to come over to defend, and they'll go single file. Not on the ideal racing line, though. 3T1 defensive from Krozek towards Wilson, and Ordegren's going to try and hang it round the outside. Isn't far enough alongside. Can't hold it the long way round. One lap later, Oliver Stone retakes the lead and through Brundle and Nelson. But look at this, starting to weave now a little bit, trying to break the toe is Krozek. Cars into Brundle. Now we'll make sure they don't fight each other. Too hard mistake over the curb for Krozek. And they're going to drop to the back of this train. Hopefully they didn't hit that sausage curb hard enough that they took a little bit of suspension damage. That is possible. Aidan Carter has made a mistake and has dropped down to P3. The gap is opening up and fighting for the lead. That fight might be over for them now. Replay here coming through. Koram behind Mahai into the braking zone and just loses the rear end. A very sort of normal spin from what we've seen this series so far. Aidan Carter falling foul of it, and they'll not be taking their third consecutive win. Nonetheless, Oliver Stone, Matt High fall foul of issues themselves. Let's go on board with Aidan Carter into the left-hander. You can see just as they sort of turned in, the rear end was already starting to slip around a little bit, and then as they tried to pick up the throttle, the rear end was not having it. Did not have the grip for that, and yeah, they went for a little adventure, and looks like another little wide moment for them as that little red marker comes up to indicate a little off track for them. Munro leading this train for P4 under a lot of pressure from Ordegren. Can see those incident points for Toy at the most 15x, or 2 leaders now. Oliver Stone, Matt Ty at 11x. Krozek was on 11x, has now just picked up a 12th. Jack Dan on 11x as well, as they try and close down Krozek in front of this 3-car train. They haven't closed in too much. That gap's still 6 seconds. Has only really taken about a second out of it. 3T1, Munro going defensive immediately on the exit. That's going to allow Ordegren to have the run on the outside. But again, not far enough alongside. Ordegren will have to slot back into line. Again, they will have the slipstream towards Brundle. Will they go for a move, as Matt Cleaver has had an issue and has dropped down the order? I think they had got into the top 15 for to be involved in the reverse grid. Unfortunately, they've fallen out of that. Munro holding on in front of Ordegren, though, for now. Still 7.5 minutes of the race to go. Still about 7 laps that will be. This is Matt Cleaver into the final corner. Just wasn't quite able to get the car slowed down. Tried turning in. The rear end was not going to have the grip. They managed to avoid spinning, but not without a trip across the grass for them. So that's how they dropped down a few positions. Ashley Collins has fallen out of that top 15 place they had earlier, getting themselves back in front of Adrian Rich. So they are. And will close in on Ashhill. He had a little wide moment, but seems to have kept it pointing the right way. Krozek closing up a lot in the braking zone, nearly getting into the back end of Ordegren. Was just managed to avoid contact. And now these drivers coming up upon lapped traffic. We cut back to Butolfson trying to defend P10 from Dan Tomlinson, who has hung it round the outside, has the nose in front, but has to go the long way round Wilson, which they will do indeed. Inside for the left-hander, and they have to back out not quite far enough alongside. And Reece Tarrant in the background is going to try and get involved in the mix as well, fighting for the final top 10 position. All 3 of them will be involved in the reverse grid, but they'd rather have the better points here as C. I think Monroe and Orgren have come together as both of them are dropping back. Krojek has taken P4 and Jack Dan is going to be promoted up to P6. Not quite P5 as Orgren is just about going in time, but Monroe's also got to lose place to Peter Stather and fall down to P8 heading into T1. So maybe a little coming together between these two into the final corner. Let's see the replay here. Monroe still leading light. Orgren just behind. They're coming up upon a couple of that back markers, and Monroe just has to slow down on the exit of the corner, and Orgren right behind isn't able to react in time. Very unfortunate timing for the pair of them. For that, here we have Ashford, who's already having a very difficult race, bounces over the inside curb, which has a big drop off in the middle of it, and yeah, the car not reacting well to that as we see them go for a little spin. So Monroe, there we did see, it seemed like the front wing came off from Orgren in that instant, but it appears to be there again, so maybe a little bit of desync, but Orgren carrying on. Buzz dropped down to P6 now. Jack Dan up to P5, gifted by that little moment in Monroe with damage. Is going to take a little trip through pit lane. 4.5 minutes left in the race. How far back will Monroe drop? Can they fight back for any last position? Stather now past Orgren as well, who has damage. It looks like we've had another instant with Dan Tomlinson, Botolfson, as Stather goes for a spin through Wilson. It's all kicking off here in the final 5 minutes. Tomlinson, Botolfson both into pit lane for a fast repair, and that's going to drop them out of the reverse grid. Welcome back Ashley Collins and Matt Cleaver to the front row of the next race. As things stand, but all is not over. Let's see the replay. Oh, final corner once again.
I'll find
that. It all kicked off.
That's good when you click a replay and it's just carnage, isn't it? Right, we'll try and find that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, trying to see what started all that. I wonder again if maybe like the other one, lapped traffic restarting into here. It looks like Botolfson is at the front of this. Something causes them to spin. Is it Grant Lloyd in front of them? Grant Lloyd coming into the final corner. Yeah, just loses the rear end in a similar manner to Aidan Carter, who sat there on the outside. Reverses themselves back off. Look to top left. Tries to get going. There's the car in the way. Waits. Botolfson just loses rear end and trying to avoid all the cars. They go to the outside where Grant Lloyd is sitting. Yeah, just unfortunate. It's sort of a similar incident to what we had at Brands Hatch, where two cars following each other line of stern went into T1. The front car lost the rear end, had a spin. Second car did the exact same thing. It was identical, synchronized spinning. Not quite the same here, but yeah, similar. Matt Cleaver has got themselves up to 14th ahead of Ashley Collins, and Adrian Rich is right behind and will be trying to take that final reverse grid slot. That is going to be a very important battle throughout the end of this race. But yeah, after the mistakes so far, Oliver Stone now leads uncontested at lead in front of Mahai. Ian Carter has held on to P3, Krojek P4, Jack Dan, after their qualifying ban, is up to P5. But this is the battle for reverse grid row. Ashley Collins currently sitting on provisional pole for next race, trying to keep up with Matt Cleaver, but is being hunted down by Adrian Rich. More tire smoke at the final corner. Do we see any car spun, any car going slowly? There is a car going slowly there, just on the bum shot. Not sure who it was. Into T1, and Grant Lloyd coming out of the pits. Ashley Collins setting a personal best as they try and hold on to that provisional pole or get themselves up to P14 this race. It's not the only battle we still have going. Philip Staples is coming under pressure from restart as we see a few track limit points popping up. The red markers indicating cars have ran off track as drivers pushing to the end of this race, maybe struggling with a bit of tyre wear, possibly. Quite a few medium and high speed corners throughout this track. They'll be putting the tyres under pressure. Quite a few of them being right-handers as well. So those left-hand side tyres probably struggling at this phase
And
of
that's a
the race.
perfect
Big,
example of it, yeah.
yeah, big
Perfect
lock-up for
example.
Philip Staples. And restart is through, but it will not be battle over. Philip Staples will slide into his slipstream. We'll try and get back. Ben, what do you have for us?
I was just about to say about the tyres, because we've seen more and more people going off through the last corner. So I don't know about you, Scotty, but I can imagine that the long sweeping right-hander all the way around the back end of the circuit through Bombhole and such just must be murdering the tyres, and then obviously the constant lock-ups at the last corner as well.
Yeah, I imagine the lockups are putting a bit of a flat spot. If the drivers are struggling with that, we have seen a few lockups, few people just locking the rear tires ever so slightly, but just enough to go for a spin. Ashley Collins has fallen out of provisional pole for next race, dropped off the back of Matt Cleaver. Without the slipstream, Adrian Rich has pounced and has now put themselves on the front row for the next race. Time has run out. And so this will be the final lap as Oliver Stone completes final half of this lap. Ben, I mean, you've been racing in series. Has tyre wear been much of a struggle for you?
Not really. I think the main thing is if you do have a big off, that's when the tyre wear really gets you. So I think Jack Dan's a perfect example here of someone that's just kept it clean, worked their way through the carnage, you know, and kept those tyres fresh. Still really good pace. But yeah, I think the second that you have the issues, like that's not what you need on the last corner.
Drama at the... Yeah, well avoided by Oliver Stone. The win, it wasn't looking in doubt until a car span in front of them. Great avoidance will allow them to take their second win of this series. Race 1 here at Snetterton for round 3. Matt High will take second, and Aidan Carter, mistake through the final corner, drops them out of the lead battle. They'll hold on to the final podium place, though. Krojek fighting for P4 would luckily avoid instant at the final corner. We'll take P4. I have Jack Dan coming from the back row of the grid up to P5, 21 spots gained this race. Alexander Orgren will be P6, Peter Stather P7, and our leading AM driver, Lewis Mason, waving across the line in celebration. They will take their first win of the series of the AM class series and their second podium. Luca Munro will take P9 and Mike Pfeiffer's will round out the top 10 overall. Adrian Rich here battling to the line, trying to hold on to reverse grid pole position, and they just about will by 0.12 seconds out of Ashley Collins. Ooh, very close, sir. That could have a big impact on the race coming up. Remember, Adrian Rich will now start on pole position. Ashley Collins will start 16th place. So that could have big differences for the race coming up. But here we have the Heat 1 results. Again, Oliver Stone avoiding a spun car on the last corner will hold on for the win ahead of Matt High. Ian Carter rounding out the podium places with a spin themselves at the final corner, which dropped them out of the lead fight. Krojek will take P4, have Jack Dan up 21 places, finishes 21 seconds behind the leader. Orgren will be P6 ahead of Peter Stather in 7th. As mentioned, AM leader Lewis Mason in 8th overall. I have Luca Munro and Mike Pfeiffer second in the AM class, rounding out the top 10. Restart, we finished P11 ahead of Philip Staples. Matt Cleaver in 13th. Ash Hill will start on the front row alongside Adrian Rich, who takes pole position for our sprint race coming up. Ashley Collins, we just missed out in the final 5 minutes by 0.12 seconds at the end. Very close battle between them, but they'll take P16, have Ben Holmes in 17th, but Holfson will take 18th. Further down the order, Tempera will finish P19th, have Dan Tomlinson in 20th. Sean McGarl will sell for 21st, have Mac Barnes in 22nd, Ashford in 23rd, Grant Lloyd 24th, Terry Williams 25th, for Toy 26th, and Charlie Morgan in 27th. Quite a few drivers, those from 18th down, finishing off the lead lap. Quite a few cars having to come in and use their faster repair. But yeah, difficult race, that one, especially towards the end, and especially for those drivers that had issues, as you were saying. when you have one spin, you damage the tires, and it makes it that much easier to have further issues.
Yeah, the problem is it's just a never ending cycle on a track like this where the last corner is so difficult because you're turning right and trying to brake at the same time with a car without ABS. The more the more damage you're doing to the tyres, the more that amplifies as the race goes on. I definitely think that was part of the reason we saw an increasing amount of issues at the last corner. Because the car really did look on edge through there. I mean, it caught Aiden out halfway through there, halfway through that race. So, yeah, obviously quite difficult. And also, as well, we did see a couple of drivers just being a bit more careful towards the end there. So I do wonder how close they were getting on instant points, because the instant point indicator on the screen is not always doesn't always have all of the instants on there, so they could be sat on 14 but actually be sat on 16 points and 1 point away from a drive through, which obviously round here, which is, you know, the pit lane's the whole straight, so pretty big penalty.
It's not that long of a pit lane. There's certainly longer pit lanes, but British tracks, the pit lanes do tend to be a little bit shorter. But that could have been the difference between being in the top 15 and getting reversed to the front of the grid and missing out on that. But yeah, the sprint race coming up, only 25 minutes instead of 35. So tire wear should be a little bit easier. Doesn't mean it's going to be an easier race, especially if you're Oliver Stone starting 15th place now. 14 places to make up if you want to win back-to-back. Gonna be a lot of overtaking to be done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know it can be done here because we've seen Jack work his way through the pack, and also there was a few people who had issues relatively early on as well who managed to come back. I think Reece Tarrant really worked his way up back through the pack after being a plumb last, wasn't he, after the first lap. So there's definitely overtaking opportunities, and there is a bit of a disparity in pace. You can see that from the gaps at the end there. So it will be very interesting, especially those first few laps, as to whether some of the cars who finished well in the first race take it easy on those first laps, or if they'd really try and make that advantage work at the start and be a bit riskier at the start, but make up some places.
I mean, speaking of risks at the start, Lewis Mason mentioning triple overtake under the bridge. We've seen that 4 wide into Brundle corner on the opening lap.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty brave, because Brundle into Nelson, I mean, we've seen some drivers struggling there when they were all by themselves. You know, it's another corner similar to the final corner where you're going through, okay, this time it's a left-hander into the right-hander, but it can be tricky on the brakes, you know, trying to, when you're jostling for position, not easy, and to do it, and to come into that corner 4 wide, I mean, that is very, very brave.
Here's a question for you then, because Matt Cleaver, for instance, was one of the faster drivers on the grid, qualified well, obviously had the damage drop back. Matt's going to be, where is he? What, second, third on the grid here? Do you think he just goes full send at the start to try and get into the lead? And do you think he's going to be able to get enough space, if he can get into the lead safely? Do you think he's going to be able to get enough speed far away? Because we know Oliver, Matt, Aiden and Jack are all very quick. We've seen it last week where I was unfortunately the case study of trying to get as far in the lead and then getting caught up by them. But round here, I think Matt's got good pace, so it could be a bit of a outlier on the old who's going to win this one.
I think this could go anyway. It really depends. Do you have the pace to break out at the front, and get a gap, or are people just going to follow you in the slipstream, try and re-overtake you? How quickly do the cars get through the field? Do they get some good moves like this Mason? Do they pick up a lot of places, or do they find themselves maybe getting bogged down in positions? But enough of the chatter pre-race. The drivers are away into T1. Very quick start here with Adrian Rich and Ash Hill on the front row. Matt Cleaver already getting themselves up into P2, but Ash Hill is not letting this go easily to the outside of Wilson corner. Rich being on foot and across the grass. for Ash Hill. Matt Cleaver having to check up on the exit, and that's going to be awful for them. No momentum as they are going to be 4 wide down the straight. We've got a car spinning off. That is Ashley Collins, unfortunately dropping from 16th on the grid. They're 3 wide. They rear-ended for Matt Cleaver. Spinning off, he's going to collect the yellow car, and sideways across the track, it's carnage. Multiple cars being collected, and drama here at the opening lap.
Time board. I've jinxed him immediately. Oh,
you have indeed. Jack Dan, one of those involved as well. Major damage. He's going to have to come in with a faster par. We'll give it a moment for these positions to start sorting themselves out and see who's managed to get through that unscathed and who has been involved. Dan Tomlinson locking up the brakes into the final corner, trying to fend off from Oliver Stone. Quite a few cars coming into pit lane to use that faster par. Who is trying to break away at the front though is Ash Hill. Fastest lap as they have the lead, and look how many cars are coming in. Casualties 19th down. That's 9 cars? 9 cars into the pits at the end of lap 1, repairing damage. And Luca Munro will be the first of those out of the pits.
Yeah, that's a big thing for Luca though. Obviously had to pit, but out first, so able to use that empty track. But yeah, should we go and have a look at that fun? I think the first one looked like a classic turn 1, turn 2 incident, and the one later on, I mean, they were 4 wide, weren't they?
We've had more issues here in the second lap. Dan Tomlinson, Mac Barnes dropping down the order. We could find ourselves in a bit of a replay cycle here. Matt Cleaver still has only just got to pit lane, and he's already a lap down as he's entering, let alone leaving the pits. Let's have a replay of that start that we kind of missed, had a little bit of a miss. Again, Adrian Rich on the front row with Ash Hill Cleaver in third. Looks like a clean getaway for everyone as head towards T1. Cleaver, good start, gets to the inside of Ash Hill, but Ash Hill holds it round the outside, doesn't want to give it up too easily. Can see the fighting, couple of cars kicking up a little bit of dirt, and then just try and go round the outside here. Is alongside, but isn't left room by Cleaver. Then Rich is really slow on the exit of that corner. Cleaver has to check up, and that's kind of where this starts.
Oh, that's Matt High getting turned, yeah.
Yeah, just people converging on that left-hand apex. One car gets spun, the rest have to try and avoid, but it's very difficult when you've got a car sideways across. And then here we are, nearly 4 wide into the corner. Matt Cleaver just breaks a little bit earlier than Munro expects. Munro into the back, spins. Matt Cleaver just sideways across the track, rolls backwards a little bit. That takes Oliver Stone, Carter, and Jack Dan, I think, were the 3 cars that got caught up in that. 3 quick runners. So this is where we stand at the moment. Ash Hill is breaking away at front, not just with the overall lead, but the AM lead as well. Peter Stather is in P2, having gone from Adrian Rich, who's trying to hold on to P3 at the moment. This is replay of Botolfson coming up to Wilson Corner. And they'll just get collected by the number 44 car who was passing Ben Holmes. That's Tempera that was into the back of Botolfson. So Botolfson dropping down the order. And Jack Dan wasting no time. Fastest lap of the race as they try and regain some of the places. Remember, only 25 minutes this race. So the recovery drives, there isn't that much time to get them done. Big jump over the curb for Lewis Mason. It's going to compromise them a little bit of slide as they come back towards the track. They'll give an opportunity to Ortegren, who's in the slipstream, trying to close up, and will be trying to take P4 here as they close up. But even with the jump off the curb for Mason, will not be close enough for a run this time by Dan Tomlinson. Has had an issue and is going to drop down the order. As let's go through our as we see this replay here again, just losing the rear end. Yeah, probably trying to hang it out.
Yeah.
But when you have a faster par, you know, fixing that damage it's a little more than a drive-through penalty. It probably is worth it, especially at this early stage of the race as Dan continues to drop down the order. But as we see, Ordergren being challenged by Mike Pfeiffer's behind, isn't having it too easily, but is still closing in as Adrian Rich has gone wide through the final corner and will give up a couple of places here. Ordergren is going to try and make it 2 places. They look to the outside. Mason defending the inside, saying a personal best, trying to defend the position. Is it going to be good enough? It holds on for now, but we'll have to hold on through Wilson as well. Yeah, Ordergren not close enough to make a move there, as we've got a 4-car train behind Mason, all fighting for position. Pfeiffer's in the slipstream, maybe thinking a move here. Are we going to see, different to the outside for Ordergren, to the inside for Pfeiffer's? Will either of them commit to the move? No, both of them backing out for now. A little bit wide for Mason at the front, but we'll hold on for now. Let's just give you a little update of our big championship contenders. Aidan Carter leading the way is in 15th. They follow Oliver Stone, who is in 14th, and Jack Dan, worst of them, is down in 24th. I think has maybe had a bit of an issue fighting with Barnes and Ashley Collins, losing out to Collins there just as we were mentioning them. So not ideal for Jack Dan. They're pretty much going to need to have a repeat of the previous race. The reverse grid might make that a little bit easier, might make it a little bit more difficult. We were on board with Ordergren as they're still trying to get past Mason, who's putting up a good fight, not making it easy. We've seen moves can be easy around here with the slipstream, but don't tell Ordergren that, as I don't think they would agree. Aidan Carter now saying fastest lap of the race, and something I haven't actually mentioned all season, just reminded myself of, there is a point for setting fastest lap of the race. So Aidan Carter has that at the moment to try and help them maintain the 21-point championship point lead they have in the pro standings coming into this round. Of course, they will have lost out to Oliver Stone in the first race, and they are following Oliver Stone here, so I want to get past here. Adrian Rich, bit of a slow exit there as we see Jack Dan coming together with the 48 car, trying to get down the inside. I think that might have been them trying to pass Ashley Collins.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yes, it was indeed. So Jack Dan has got the move done on Ashley Collins, has got the move done on Barnes as well, up to 22nd, but much further down than their other championship contenders, which, yeah, it's always going to be a bit of a struggle for them this race. Aidan Carr saying another fastest lap. They want to catch up to Oliver Stone. They might want to pass Oliver Stone to get in front of them. Ordergren has finally got the move done on Lewis Mason and has got themselves into the podium places. Look at the cars sliding through Nelson Corner, all of them pushing, not too concerned about the tyre longevity in this shorter sprint race, but we'll go on board with Mason. Is right there behind Ordergren. Good exit from this left-hander, and they could get a move done into T1. Look at that, Ordergren just pulls away on the exit, set up the exit much better, and we'll certainly hold on to P3 for now, and we'll go try and chase after Peter Stather, who themselves is trying to chase down Ash Hill, has gained 3/10 in the last lap. Charlie Morgan having an issue, dropping down the order. Jack Dan and Barnes also showing up with red markers and dropping down the order. They might have had it coming together, but here is Charlie Morgan recovering. Tempera closing. They'll be defending the inside for Morgan, and round the outside goes Tempera, committed as anything. They'll be taking that place. Now we go to oNiD cars fighting. Dan Tomlinson to the inside of Charlie Morgan. Charlie out very wide is going to give that place up as well. Fight for the lead then. Ash Hill has been closed down by Peter Stather. with 14.5 minutes to go. Still a couple of car lengths for Stather to close in if they want to make the move. But they're now starting to put the pressure on. Any mistake from Ashel could see them lose out on the lead. Look at that. 5.5 tenths did Peter Stather gain last lap, setting a personal best. Alexander Ordegren gaining a couple of tenths on both of them as well. So the question is, how hard do these two drivers want to fight for the lead? If they slow each other down, it could become a three-way fight. If they keep it clean, don't go too hard, Ordegren might not be able to catch up. To the inside goes Stather now. How much does Ashel fight this? They're trying, they're going to hold around the outside, the inside for Nelson, but Stather holds it around the outside and will take the lead with 13.5 minutes to go. Can they hold on though? Can they make a gap, or will the slipstream keep Ashel in contention and allow them to get back past through the final corner? Stather already opening up a couple of car lengths on the entry to the final corner, but Ashel with the better exit. Did they lose too much time coming into the corner though? Bit of a slipstream from a back marker there is going to help Stather a little bit. As you can see, this Mason using slipstream from Ordegren to set a personal best and closes up a bit as well. Might not have the pace to get themselves back up into P3, but if they can just sort of put a hook on that rear crash structure of Ordegren, just get pulled along and carry them to P4. Aidan Carter now behind Monroe, who has already been passed by race 1 winner Oliver Stone, and is now going to be past Aidan Carter. Looking to the outside, is not far enough alongside. Is going to try and prepare the exit here. Monroe is going off the slipstream though, off of Oliver Stone, is putting the pressure on Grant Lloyd. But look at the slipstream. Inkar still gaining despite the slipstream for Monroe. Gaining looks to the inside. You have to imagine Carter's going to commit to the move. They sure do. Monroe is going to give that up a little bit more easily, thinking, hang on, I don't want to lose too much ground to cars in front, particularly Grant Lloyd, who is still holding on in front of Oliver Stone. Can see at the front, Stather has already pulled the gap to Ashel, 1.3 seconds gap out in front. And looks like Peter Stather in prime position to win this race. Grant Lloyd runs wide out of the final corner, and it's 3 wide now as Aidan Carter's got themselves alongside as well. They were fighting for the lead of the previous race. It's not the lead this time, it's 11th and 12th, as Monroe is actually trying to come through on Oliver Stone as well, trying to take 12th place, but on the inside doesn't quite work out. Aidan Carter now leads this train. They'll lock up deep into Wilson. Is not a good way to start their charge to try and close up to Fertoy in front. Mason had a little track limit marker pop up. They're now over a second back from Ordegren, but they do have a 5-second gap on Adrian Rich, so they might be safe from there, as Adrian Rich is coming under pressure from Mike Pfeiffer's into the final corner for these two. And into the back of Rich goes Pfeiffer's. They both collect the wall on the outside. They'll drop down the order quickly into reverse for Pfeiffer's. But both these drivers gonna have significant damage. Look at that car crabbing as it heads back towards the track. It's gonna be a visit to pit lane for Pfeiffer's. Adrian Rich though is going to try and stay out in front, just carrying more speed than Adrian, getting caught out. Of course, have to remember when you've this reverse grade, the drivers in front of you might not be as confident, might not be as quick, and Pfeiffer's has been caught out by that. Is going to use a quick repair in the pits, but is going to drop down the order as they do so. Adrian Rich will carry on in P8 for now. They'll be hoping that the damage isn't too bad, as we now have a fight. Dan Tomlinson spinning out of the first corner, being collected as they're sideways across the racing line. Oh, didn't see who that was that collected them. I think a second car has collected them as well, but Tolfson has been involved. Let's get a replay from the helicam. Dan turning the car in very aggressively, runs wide onto the grass, so lose it. They try and correct it, but overcorrect the car, slide the car, and then they're just stuck stationary there. And yeah, but Tolfson blindsided following a car through T1, not able to avoid Dan Tomlinson. Eventually will reset back to the pits. Unfortunate day. It's been a difficult start to Tomlinson. Had instance in both of our round 1 races at Donington. Unfortunately, his luck seems to be continuing on this season. Fight for second place. Ortegrin has caught up to the back of Ashhill and is putting the pressure on for second place. A little bit of a slide coming out of Nelson Corner as Reese Tarrant is finding Charlie Morgan for P15 as well. Further back, we'll stick with this battle for P2. Into the final corner. Ortegrin closing. Big jump on the curb. Look at that. Nearly lost rear end. Had to make a big save, but has cost them a lot of momentum. It's going to allow Ashhill to build a little bit of a gap for now, but I can't imagine that gap will last too long. This only helps Peter Stather at the front of the field continue to open that gap for Toy. Difficult first race for them. Second race isn't going too badly though. They find themselves dropping out of the top 10. Can they maybe make a place back up here as the Ulverstone, Ian Carter and Munro train has made their way past? But Munro has fallen off the back, and that mistake is given for Toy an opportunity here. Looking to the outside of turn 1 for Toy. Are they going to send it? They're going to try to. Munro will leave the space there, and there'll be nose in front, but are they on the brakes for Toy? Munro will hold on to P11 for now, and will try and open up that gap. Break the slipstream toe here as they head onto the Bentley straight. Meanwhile, up in front, Ulverstone now has cut up to Adrian Rich. Is going to try and get the move done into Brundle, which they do indeed. Now it's up to Aidan Carter to respond and try and get the move done. Bit of a per exit for Adrian Rich out of Nelson. That will allow Aidan Carter to get the move done, and he's going to try and catch back up to Ulverstone a little bit, try and get back within that slipstream. Ortegrin now is going to be putting the pressure back on for second as Matt High passes Charlie Morgan for 16th. Round T1 looking to the inside for Ortegrin as they made their way past a lapped car wide for Ashhill. That's allowed Ortegrin down the insides, but side by side on the exit. Ortegrin has got themselves in front for now, but can Ashhill come back here? They're thinking about tucking back into the slipstream, but they're just awkwardly too close. Yes, using side draft, as you say, pulls back alongside, doesn't commit to, or do they? They're thinking about it. They tag the rear end of Ortegrin and spin them off into the grass. Has Ortegrin collected the wall? This Mason has spun as well, trying to take avoiding action, spins themselves back on the grass. But the question is, have any of these drivers picked up damage? Ben Holmes is going to benefit from this up to P4. Sean McArdle has closed in as well and is going to try and take P5.
How is Ortegrin held on to third? I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to just find the replay, but I'm not entirely sure how he managed to hold on to that. I thought he was long gone.
Yeah, I gotta see here. Gets tagged round, goes for pretty much a 360, is pointing the right way, avoids the wall. Lewis Mason all by themselves, runs out wide, gets onto the grass, and that allows Ortegrin to hold on to P3. Mason will, however, drop down the order. They'll not be as fortunate.
Well, they've only dropped that. They must have really built up a gap there because Lewis has only dropped back into 5th position. So, and he's got Sean right behind him. Sean's up 15 places, by the way. 15 places. Fantastic drive.
Brilliant sort of redemption race for Sean McArdle after a difficult first race. Speaking of difficult races, some people's race has got a little bit more difficult. Few cars in pit lane, including Matt Cleaver, Tempera, Botolfson, who I think might still be in pit lane after that earlier incident with Dan Tomlinson. Williams, I think, was in pit lane as well. So we got a replay here of Ulverstone. Just can't slow the car down for Nelson. Runs out wide, gives the place up to Aidan Carter, who will carry on, and there's another car right behind them. Luckily, that wasn't for position, I don't think. So Peter Stather, still your race leader in front, has built up a 3.6 second lead to Ash Hill in second, who has 4.8 seconds over Ortegren after that previous instant, though you have to imagine that will be a post-race investigation by the stewards, potential penalty to be given out. Charlie Morgan is going to be next of our cars to visit pit lane, as Munro is trying to be the next car to pass Adrian Rich, this time for P9, trying to use slipstream from one of the oNiD cars in front, and will get in front indeed. Next car is Oliver Stone, our race one winner, who I think Munro's going to struggle to catch. As you can see, is coming up to that Dan Tomlinson. Mike Pfeiffer's down in 17th place. It's going to be a little bit disappointed being 17th at the moment, but still has time. Not a lot of time, actually. Just over 3.5 minutes left of this race. The middle portion has absolutely flown by. We still have plenty of battles to come for the end of the race. Pfeiffer is trying to pass Ashford for 16th place. We still have Sean McArdle trying to pass Lewis Mason for P5. And Oliver Stone has got up to the back of Aidan Carter for P7. For what might be their final finishing positions. Can Aidan Carter steal some points off Oliver Stone to try and hold on to lead for the championship, or will Oliver Stone continue to close the gap this round? Pfeiffer's looking to the inside of Ashford into T1, is going to send it, and Ashford will back out of that one. At the same time, Sean McArdle makes the move on Lewis Mason for the top 5 position. It might be a top 5 overall. It is an P3 podium position within the AMS classes. Looks like Pfeiffer's and Ashford, just as we switch away from them, have had a bit of an issue, whether running off track or they're coming together, we don't know, but they have lost a bit of time. Down the centre straight then for our 2 championship leaders, Aidan Carter still leading Oliver Stone in 7th and 8th respectively. They are closing in on Sean McArdle and Lewis Mason after they had a little bit of a fight wide, triggering track limits there for Oliver Stone as they try and close in. We've seen these 2 trading positions quite a bit last race, and they will do so some more at the end of this race. The other championship contender, Jack Dan, more difficulties. They're taking a trip to pit lane. Let's have a look. The car looks relatively straight. I wonder if that is for track limits. They'll lock up as they come into pits, and yeah, confirmed their track limits. Ashford here, we mentioned they had a little bit of an issue. Lock up for the 113, and then trying to take that tighter line. Ashford trying to avoid, spins the rear wheels, trying to get on the par, and yeah, unfortunately, will drop back. Luckily, the car that you did see pass there was not for position. 2 laps to go here as we get towards the end of our sprint race. Sean McArdle and Lewis Mason fighting side by side into T1. Sean McArdle in the inside. Lewis Mason holding it around the outside into Wilson. Aidan Carter still leaves Oliver Stone, and they have massively benefited. They've closed in on this battle, and with Sean McArdle making a mistake through Wilson, it's going to be under big pressure from in-car. Move over to try and break slipstream. Defend into Brundle. In-Carter follows for this. Slipstream pulls out and will make the move. Does Oliver Stone follow through? He does indeed. It seems like Sean McArdle doesn't want to fight that one too much. Now the question is, can Lewis Mason hold on to P5? It doesn't really matter in terms of class positions, as Lewis Mason is an AM driver. Aidan Carter and Oliver Stone, both pro drivers, and not just pro drivers, of course, leading that pro championship. But maybe a sense of pride for Mason if they can hold on to an overall top 5 place. Racing drivers, they tend to like to fight. So will Lewis Mason? Carter goes for the inside. Mason goes to open up T1. They'll try and hang it around the outside here. They're not going to make it easy for our championship leaders. Into Wilson, Aidan Carter on the inside, trying to squeeze out Mason, which they do get done, and they're up to P5. Reminder, this is the final lap. Half a lap to go for Oliver Stone to try and get themselves up to P6. They'll still take second within the Pro Championship, but they would like one more spin. You never know. We've seen mistakes in the final corner in the first race. We could see more. It's not over till the checkered flag is out. But it is out. It is waving as Peter Stather will take the second victory here at Snetterton. What a race from them, having started P8 on the grid. Ashhill will take second, just holding off Alexander Ordegren by half a tenth at the end, who set personal best, trying to get P2 at the end. Ben Holmes will take P4 overall, with Aidan Carter P5. Lewis Mason will hold on to P6 by 3 thousandths of a second ahead of Oliver Stone. Krosek here closing up to Adrian Rich. It'd be just too little too late for them to take P11. Boy, I am starting to lose my voice with how much action we've had this race as the rest of our drivers come across the line. Pipers will take 15th place. Jack Dan will take 16th, having had a difficult race and struggled to make up the same positions Oliver Stone and Ian Carr did. Remember, all 3 of those drivers involved in a lap 1 incident. But yeah, that is all of our drivers across the line. Unfortunately, not all of our drivers finishing the race, but we'll get the final results up here in a moment. What a race. Your final race results then. Peter Stather, 7.2 second gap in the end, ahead of Ashhill in second. Our AM leader for this race, Ashhill. Ordegren will take P3 ahead of Ben Holmes in P4. Aidan Carter would recover to P5 and claw some points back from Oliver Stone after that unfortunate mistake they made in the first race, with Lewis Mason separating the pair of them in P6. Sean McGardle will take P8, have Luca Munro in P9. Fertoy will round out the top 10 ahead of Adrian Rich, started on pole position, fell down to P11. Krajek will take P12 ahead of Matt Hine 13th. Reese Tarn in 14th. Mike Pfeiffers rounds out the top 15. Jack Dan, disappointing race, involved in that same lap 1 incident as Carter and Stone, but struggled to make the same recovery as them. Ashford, we take 17th, head of Staples in 18th. Further down the order, Charlie Morgan will take 19th, have Mac Barnes in 20th, the first of our cars to finish a lap down. Collins, we take 21st, having just missed out on that reverse grid by 10th. It would be really unfortunate. They'd get involved in a lap 1 incident as well, dropped to the back of the field. So yeah, they'll be really disappointed to have missed out on that reverse grid, as it caused them trouble this race. Dan Tomlinson will take 22nd, 2 laps down. Grant Lloyd 23rd, Terry Williams 24th. Our non-finishers, Tempera, Matt Cleaver, as we see in the background of this replay, involved in that lap 1 incident, as well as Batolfson, who collected Dan Tomlinson in an instant in the middle of the race. So much chaos. I am genuinely losing my voice.
But
Wow.
I must apologise to Scotty, because I did throw Scotty under the bus a bit and say I'm not very well and I can't talk very much. So Scotty's just absolutely smashed that commentary. Thank you very much, because there was so much. There was going on. Sorry, I sound really attractive right now. But there was so much going on there. It's a shame about the incident at the start of the second race there, because it's such a difficult corner. It's totally blind to the cars coming along. So the second that there's the incident in front, it's always going to be a struggle for them to avoid anything when they're coming around the corner. And I think we did lose a few of the drivers quite early. But after that, I mean, what a race again. Some excellent results.
Yeah, some people that will be very happy have sort of taken advantage of the misfortune those drivers faced on lap 1. Dan Tomlinson in chat saying that he is cursed this season. He really is. He's been involved in incidents, had issues, and struggled. So yeah, he'll be hoping for a turnaround for the rest of the season. But Tolson saying he's not doing much better. And this Mason saying, how on earth did he miss the lap 1 incident? You've maybe go buy a lottery ticket, Lewis, because you've had a very good round tonight.
Well, I mean, I don't know how Peter got through it all either, because Peter's behind it, and he's started 8th. Was it 8th on the grid, and he's managed to get through it and get up into the lead. So, yeah, some nice driving, some nice avoidance driving from Peter, Lewis, Ash as well at the start there. So to get them through, and Ben also finishing in 4th, managing to sneak his way through the gaps 13 places gained. So not everybody was included in the instance.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about Ben Holmes that race at all. He just had a clean race, dead out of trouble, and hey, P4. But yeah, sometimes that's what it's all about, is just staying out of trouble and picking up the pieces when they all fall apart. As we seen, yeah, it's been really, really really difficult race for some. Jack Dan with that qualifying ban had a very good race 1, but yeah, struggled in that second race. Yeah, show the chaos of the reverse grid races. Liz Mason is sharing some photos in the Discord of their view through that instant, and let me tell you, it is very interesting. He has done very well to make it through that, I will just say. Like, at one point, one photo looks like he is involved in the incident. You're still shaking. I am not surprised. Yeah, I would be too. But yeah, fantastic racing from all of our drivers. Yeah, brilliant racing. We will be back. Well, I say we. You will be back next week, Ben, this time in the car. Let me ask, how disappointed are you to miss out on racing this week?
I'm very disappointed, because Snetterton 200 is a fantastic little track. Next week is probably my worst British track, and that's Thruxton, so I'm really not looking forward to that one. I have a habit of crashing. And to those that do iRacing, if you're doing the 4 hours of Thruxton tomorrow in touring cars, let us know, because that should be interesting, because I'm doing that. But yeah, Thruxton next week. Can't say I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm going to try and just keep it safe, not get into any incidents next week.
Try and find yourselves in the same place as Ben Holmes, perhaps?
Yeah. Apparently, he's just really good at keeping it safe this week. It obviously learned after last week, getting caught up in a few things, and yeah, I'm going to talk to him now and see if I can get any pointers.
Yeah, sometimes it is just like a flip of a coin. Does it land on heads and you get through unscathed, or does your tail get caught and you find yourself dragged to the bottom? That's the way it is sometimes. As Ben mentioned, we are at Thruxton next week to finish off the first half of the season. Very high-speed track. They say it's the fastest track in the UK. So, as you expect, a lot more opportunities for slipstreaming. Some very high-speed corners that could maybe stress out the tires. Some difficult braking zones. That final chicane, another one that's sort of similar as you're turning into it while trying to get the car slowed down. I wonder if how the drivers will manage through that. We will get to see next week, but of course we still have plenty of racing between now and then. On Sunday we have the 3rd round of our 100 series on the Mon Ultimate. We are heading to let me just remind myself, we're heading to the Mon without the chicanes. We have that long Mulsanne straight, which I'll be trying not to fall asleep down. Plenty of slipstreaming opportunities there. Hopefully some carnage strategy will be a big question, as it has been in that series. So join us on Sunday for that. Then on Monday, we have round 4 of our GT3 festival on the Mon Ultimate. 65 minutes this time around Portimao, one of the most difficult circuits in Le Mans Ultimate. How will our drivers fare through there? Then on Tuesday, we have our John Cooper Works Mini World Tour. This week, it's a British circuit. It is Goodwood, very high-speed circuit for that. I love chaos. With 3 15-minute races, the third of which a reverse grid there. A lot of chaos. We've seen a brilliant race this week where an AM driver took overall victory, and we had basically a dead heat across the line, much like we had tonight as well. We didn't quite see tonight's one, but yeah, it was a brilliant finish at Sugo this week. I'm sure we'll have some great racing there next week as well. And then on Wednesday, we have the continuation of our Simhound Academy on the Mon Ultimate. They will be at Spa next week for a 50-minute race with GT3 cars and LMP2 cars as lesser experienced drivers learn and hone their skills on the Mon Ultimate. And that is before we then return on Thursday again for some more open wheel British action. Thank you very much, Ben, for taking the time to step out of the race car and stream with us through your little bug, whatever it is. Hopefully you'll feel better soon and feel better before next week's racing, which I'm sure you're looking forward to. And good luck in the 4 hours of Thruxton tomorrow.
Thank you. And before we go, the final video of tonight will be something in a week and a half's time. We'll be here for the final round of the Abruzzi Endurance Championship. So watch out for that as well. Saturday dates. Saturday the 7th of June at Valencia. So look out for that one. But yeah, thank you very much for Scotty for shepherding us through. And yeah, you'll have Aiden. You'll have Aiden next week, so you'll be back to him shouting contact quite loud when there's an incident. So thank you, though, everyone.
Yeah, and also thank you to Matt Cleaver for letting us cam this stream. That's a nice little addition to have this stream. We didn't get to see much of it in that second race, unfortunately, after the start. Imagine if we had it up live. That would have been great.
It's probably for the best we didn't.
Maybe. But yeah, unfortunate for Cleaver, but thank you anyway for letting us use that. So yes, we'll be back again on Sunday. But until then, take care. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.